Hey guys, how are we? And welcome back to the channel, Masculine Dating and Development. Welcome back. So yeah, I just got back from a session myself, actually, daytime session, and yeah, it went pretty well. I aimed for like 10 and got 12, so happy with that, and 4 to 5 numbers, I think. So pretty happy with that ratio. But anyway, I digress. I don't want to take up too much of this video with that. We can discuss that at another time. But anyway, yeah, so today I want to talk about how to cold approach effectively for the daytime, my preference, okay? Yes, so the reason why, it depends where you're at in life in relation to if you wanted, lead generation's obviously through 4 different avenues, right? You got your daytime cold approach, you got your bars, clubs, nightlife, then you've obviously got dating apps, and then you got social circle. So my preference for lead generation, so my preference is daytime cold approach. It's just a stage of life that I'm in. I like to get up early. I like to go to bed early, have training, and, take care of myself. So that's where I'm at, right? But it depends where you're at, okay? It depends where you're at. And each one, you got to kind of approach differently. But for now, I'm going to discuss daytime cold approach because I just think that for me, it's more effective and more efficient. I'm not saying the other methods don't work, but for the stage of life that I'm at and my lifestyle and whatnot, it suits me. And yes, we're going to get into the finer details of that now. Now, let's start off with the mindset. Obviously, this is the number one thing before you go approaching in any lead generation source, okay? So the mindset is that, how do you see yourself, okay? How do you see yourself in the world? Do you have a lot of experience with women? Are you only just building the experience? Do you have confidence, or do you need to build up that confidence? And obviously confidence comes through competence, and competence means that you're getting competent at a specific skill. And when you've done that skill time and time again and over again, well, then obviously you build up the confidence, right? And then that just obviously builds up like a snowball effect, and it builds up the momentum, right? Now, are you seeing yourself like a 10 out of 10? Do you see yourself as being able to bring value to and experiences to people's interactions, right? How much experience do you have in this area? This is all going to play a role. But the mindset that you need to have going into the interactions is this. This is what I firmly believe. You see yourself as a 10 out of 10 or a 100 out of 100, right? Assuming attraction. So you assume this person is already going to like you, right? And you want to go there to give. That's one of the biggest things, is that when you go there to give, not to get, all right? So you go into an interaction, not wanting to take, but to give, that completely changes everything, okay? And it makes you more detached. Well, there's another point that I really want to touch on. You want to get it to a point where you become detached from outcome. So you're outcome dependent, which means in simple terms that no matter what happens in the interaction, right, you are detached from the outcome. So whether it's a good interaction or a bad interaction or whatever it is, that you are that happy with yourself because you just done it, okay? You done it, which is the most important thing. So I said last video, goals over girls. When you go out, you're going out for yourself, but at the same time, when you go into the interaction with the mindset of like, I want to give, okay? I want to give, I want to add value. I want to meet this person. I want to see what she's about, okay? And that's another factor, is that you want to go into the interaction with the buyer's mentality, okay? Yes, when you open someone, statistically speaking, the power dynamic goes down and it goes against you, and it's in their favor because you've gone up to them, right? But I want you to use the analogy or an example of like when you go to buy a TV, right? Is that when you go into the shop and you're looking, right? And you go and you're, oh, okay, I like that TV as an example, but let me just go see what it's about first. It's the same process when you go and talk to a stranger on the street, okay? You're just going to there to have a look. You're going there to see what the vibe's like. See what her personality's like. Yeah, she's attractive. You've already realized that. That's why you've gone and spoken to her in the first place. Okay? So those are the few kind of just a couple of mindsets that I want you to go into with each interaction before you actually go out. All right? And again, we can do a whole nother video on that just on mindset alone, but I just want to be able to go through this quickly enough to get this out to you guys so you can get going ASAP. Right. Now, as a beginner, right, also we need to work out our positioning and body language, okay? I always love and prefer the front on stop at a 45-degree angle. Hey, excuse me, I like to put my hand up so I can try and get their attention the best as I can so they can see me coming, right? And also, like, I'm a bigger guy. I'm always usually like, I don't know, 60 kilos heavier than them as an example. So I want to make sure that they see me and they don't get frightened and they don't get scared, so to speak, right? Because they don't know me, they don't know what I'm doing, okay? But you want to have the body language where you're coming in, nice, calm, relaxed, good posture, good eye contact, right? Hey, excuse me, right? That's the first thing. You want to get their attention, okay? You want to get their attention. So you've got the front on stop, you've got the other stop where they pass you, and then you've got to jog around. I don't like that. I do not like that. I've always preferred to do just the front on stop, always. Because I always feel, and it's definitely not a subconscious thing, I always feel that when you go around and you're trying to catch up to them, you give that space in your mind where you're like, you need a 3-second rule, see something go, see something go, see something go, right? When that breaks and you hesitate, then you build up all this space and you build up the anxiety within your mind. And it also feels like that she knows as well. Like, they know. I know that they know. You can just tell when you're trying to turn around. But it is what it is. If she passes you and you got to turn around and do the quick run around, make sure you still come in on a 45-degree angle, right? Let her be able to see you. That's the biggest thing. Do not approach from behind. Do not do that, guys. Do not. Okay? Make sure the poor girl can actually see you first. Okay? Hey, excuse me. Even if you've got to put your hand out. Okay? The front on stop. Then you got the side on stop, right? When you pass, okay? And you got to do the run around. So they're pretty much the basic ones. But where, if possible, always try and get the front on stop. Do you know what I mean? You don't always get it. You're not always going to be able to get it. It's a long time she's going to pass you. You're going to have to walk up and walk fast and jog around. But, try and make it as calm and as seamless and as frictionless as possible and relaxed, okay? And that's going to be the next thing that we get into. So you've got your body positioning, you've got your eye contact, you've got a front on stop. If not, it's going to be at a 45-degree angle so it can allow the girl to pass you. She can pass if she needs to. Don't completely block it. Don't do that, okay? Don't completely block it. If you've been in interaction for a few minutes and you're able to maneuver around, and yes, you want to be man to woman interaction and then you're standing in front of her, that's okay. But that's after the fact that you've made that initial contact with her, okay? So don't block her path. Do not do that in any instance. Okay, so the opener, all right? So you've got the stop, and then we've got the opener. So the openers, we've got obviously direct, indirect, and semi-direct. Let's go with indirect first. Okay, so indirect first, do you know what I mean? And indirect is more suited to, people say it's an advanced game, but we'll get into that in another time. But indirect, I feel, is more appropriate for beginners. Therefore, it doesn't put your ego and your psyche on the line because it's indirect, right? And what I mean by that is, as an example, is you use a situation, environmental, like opener as an example. You're at a grocery store, you're standing there next to a girl that you find attractive. She's looking at the same product you're looking at, and you reach over and you say, hey, like, have you tried that before? Like, what's your experience with it? Is it good? Is it bad? Boom, you're in a conversation. You're standing at the traffic lights as an example. It's been a very hot day, and she's standing there next to you, and you're like, geez, it's really hot today, isn't it? You know what I mean? As an example, boom, you're in an interaction. It can be anything. They got a dog. Oh, I really love your dog. What's his name? Can I talk to him? Boom, you're in an interaction. Okay? That's an indirect opener. You're not stating your intent initially off the start. Okay? Now, direct is obviously the opposite. So direct means that you're going up to it hey, excuse me, I know this is super random, but I thought you were super cute and I just want to come and talk to you real quickly, right? Boom, you stated your intent straight off the bat, and that's being extremely direct, right? Which can have a polarizing effect. Now, remember these guys, okay? And what I mean by that is polarizing is that you're forcing the girl to make a snap decision on you, the way you look, your vibe, everything right then and there in the moment, because you have stated your intent, because you've actually stated a physical characteristic about the girl, okay? So you've said she's cute, you said she's gorgeous, you said she's beautiful, whatever, right? If it's a physical characteristic, well then, therefore, you've stated your intention off the bat, straight off the bat. Okay, so that's direct. That's pretty straightforward. You get that. You understand that. Now the third one, semi-direct, which is what I prefer, and I've done now for 10 years. I pretty much had the same opener the whole time. I haven't seen any reason to change it. I don't see any reason to change it now. And it goes like this. It's very simple. It's like, excuse me. Sorry, I know this is going to seem super random, but I saw you coming from over there, and I just thought to myself, there was something about you, and I had to come and meet you real quick. What's your name? Okay, boom, that's it. Nice, slow pace, tonality, right? Stating why I'm here, why I'm there, and why I thought that. Okay, now it's very vague. Because when I say I thought there was something about you, that can mean anything. I might have liked her clothes. I might have thought she had a nice vibe. She might have been dressing quite feminine. Like, there can be many reasons, okay? But it leaves it open to interpretation. And then at some point throughout the conversation, you go semi-direct to direct, because you have to make it a man to woman conversation at some point, okay? Because if we don't, we're not making her feel anything. This is the whole thing that I don't like indirect. Like, indirect can work in certain circumstances, okay? But you're going to have to go direct at some point. She's going to know why you're there. She's going to know that you're talking to her because you're attracted to her. That's why I prefer semi-direct, semi-indirect, because we go semi-indirect at the start. We're not forcing her to make a snap decision. We're not polarizing her straight off the bat. We're giving her time and opportunity, right, to get to know us, to have a conversation, to see what, showcase your personality. She can test your vibe, see what your energy's like, right? That way, it gives her more time. You're not forcing her to make a snap, polarizing decision, okay? Hopefully that makes sense out of indirect, direct, and semi-direct. As I said, I'm going to recap quickly. Indirect can be beneficial more for beginners, okay? Because you're going indirect, protect the psyche, protect the ego at the start. That way you can walk away from the conversation, nothing's happened, okay? Direct, you're stating your intention right from the get-go, right from the start. It's quite polarizing, can work very well if you have a high SMV, much higher than hers or equal to above, and then you can tell she's initially attracted and she can jump on board straight away. Or it can have the opposite effect where you're going to turn her off straight away because she hasn't had enough time to get to know you. Then we've got the in-between, the semi-indirect, which is the one I always love, okay? Come in semi-indirect, you just say, I thought there was something about you, therefore she doesn't know exactly what it is. She may or may not ask you what it is, but generally they don't ask her what it is. And then you turn it from a semi-indirect to a direct conversation throughout the conversation, okay? So those are our three. As a beginner, I always believe is that you should start off by asking, going up to a stranger and asking for directions. If you are so very beginner, asking for directions, asking what the time is, it's not really a thing these days. Who's got watches and clocks or whatever, But yeah, just asking about the environment, whatever it is. There's simple questions. You can pay a compliment to a stranger. You can walk up and just say, hey, look, I can see you got a boyfriend, but I just want to say I thought you're cute. Anyway, not ideal, but I've done that a fair few times just because I wanted to pay the girl a compliment. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it can help their relationship as well because it keeps a guy on their toes, so to speak. So beginners, like I said, asking for directions, asking for the times, things like that. That way it really protects you, just so you can get some momentum. Get the momentum, get the energy flowing, right? And then you can build on for there. Build on from that point there. Okay, so within the framework, after you've had the opener, okay, then generally when you get to a certain level, you can freestyle, but you're gonna have to have some, set lines or whatnot at the start. So you also want to know, like you don't want to go into interview mode. And that means I'm asking questions like, where did you grow up? You know what I mean? What school did you go to? What do you do for work? Blah, 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 blah. Those questions will come up naturally, but you don't want to rely on them too heavily, okay? You want to keep it fun and interesting and flirty and whatnot. And we're going to get into that, okay? So also teasing and banter. That's, one of the biggest things that you can have, because teasing and banter makes the girl feel something. And she needs to feel something, because if she doesn't feel something, it's not going to be a memorable conversation, especially if it's an interview mode. It's just going to be, that was quite boring. All they did was ask me a lot of questions, right? But you can also make the questions quite fun and interesting as well. And that you do that through cold reading, okay? As an example, like you say, what do you do for work? Actually, before you tell me, let me guess. I bet you're an architect. Something just totally left field that it would not be heard or, do you know what I mean? And that comes down to archetypes as well. Another video for another time. But yeah, as an example, cold reading is good because it keeps it fun and interesting, okay? And she doesn't get bored, you know what I mean? And the same in the reverse when they ask, but what do you do? It's like, well, what do you reckon? Take a guess. What does it look like I do? You know what I mean? And you don't give it away straight away. That's the thing. You want to keep it mysterious throughout the conversation. And also another good thing is like question, relate, answer. As an example, I will ask the girl a question that I can relate to. Okay, because I've been in the fitness and the health industry a long time. I can see she's an active wear. She's going to the gym or she's come from the gym. I was like, you just finished training? Yeah. Wait, let me guess. I bet you've just trained glutes and legs, haven't you? 9 times out of 10 they have, because what do girls mainly train? Legs and glutes. They train it more than men. You know what I mean? And they think it's hilarious. And they generally have a bit of a laugh. You know what I mean? And then because I can relate to it, because I was a PT, right? So I ask them a question, then I ask the question that I can relate to because I'm an expert or a content expert in that particular field, as an example. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Again, I'm kind of going over a lot of this stuff quite quickly. You can almost do a video on each of these, which I will do in time. But I definitely want to, I just want to briefly touch on these points so everyone can get started today. There's no excuse. Conversations, you want to generally go 3 to 5 minutes, not any longer than that. Unless it's going really well, then you're going to go for an instant date, which we'll touch on as well, okay? And then at the end, ABC, always be closing. Even if the vibe feels off and it doesn't feel right, always go for the number, because you want to get into the habit of going for the number. I don't know how many times when I've gone for the number, you've got the number and you're like, that felt a bit off. I didn't think it's going to go that well. Do you know what I mean? And they hit you up. They get back to you. Sometimes they end up being the best ones. You can't always get 100% read on exactly what's going on throughout the interaction. So no matter what, always be closing. Even if they're in a rush, okay? Even if they're rushing, and generally during the daytime and lunchtime, you've got to, work quite quickly, especially if you're in the city or something like that. You just always say, if they're like, sorry, I'm in a rush. Okay, all right, awesome. I understand that. But hey, how about we exchange numbers, and I'd love to continue this conversation at another time. You always be closing. Try and get the contact details no matter what. She may say yes, she may say no, whatever. But always get into a habit of ABC. Always be closing, okay? And then at the end, right, also the amount of numbers that we want to aim for. And when I mean numbers, the amount of approaches that we want to aim for. Now, as a guide for the system to work and the strategy, okay, because there's strategy and tactics, and it's volume. Volume. When volume meets skill, then it works, okay? So there is a skill component to it, obviously. The more you do it, the better you get, okay? But there is also a numbers game, and it's a volume game as well, okay? So I suggest aiming for 20 to 30 new approaches a week, okay? Now you can break that up into 5 a day. You can break it up into 3 a day, whatever it may be, or you can go out. Like I just prefer to treat it like a session, like a gym session, where like I go out for 3 hours at a time. But that's me, okay? I can do that at this stage of life, a bit more flexibility sort of thing, so to speak, with my work and so on and so forth. So therefore I can do that. And it works perfectly. I love that because I have my goals and my settings, right? And I'm like, okay, today I want to aim for 10 approaches as an example. I want to, get the teasing off the bat. I want to have some fun and banter. I want to be nice and playful with them, but I want to go hard off the bat. And what I mean by that is that as soon as you get out of your car or you get off the train or wherever it is before you start, get approaching straight away. I don't care if she's your type or she's not your type. Get one in straight away, just so you can get the momentum going and you can get the ball rolling, okay? You have to do that straight off the bat because that way it builds momentum. So we're going to aim for 20 to 30 approaches, new girls per week, okay? Now, the numbers outside of that, they generally works like this. If you approach 20, right, in a week, you should get roughly about 10 phone numbers. It's usually 1 in 3. So every kind of 3 girls that approach, you get 1 number. As an example, it's not always this way, but this is a general guide. So say you approach 20, you should get 50%. You should get about 10 numbers out of 20, as an example, right? And then out of those 10 numbers, you might get 5 to 6 get back to you. And then out of those 5 to 6, you probably get like 2 dates. And out of those 2 dates, and then 1 to 2 could turn into a lay, right? So 20 to 30 new women per week. If you talk to 30, you're definitely going to get 2 dates a week, as an example. Yes, the ratio is not that high, but this is what we're dealing with. It is a volume and numbers game. You have to run the volume, you have to run the numbers to get the results, okay? So like I said, skill meets volume, and then the system and the strategy and tactics work. Now, I've gone over a brief overview because I didn't want this video to go too long. It's already gone on long enough as it is, and I'm fine doing that, but I also know that you guys, you know what I mean? Like, we live in an attention span economy, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to keep it, as short and succinct as I possibly can. But anyway, just a quick recap, okay? The mindset. How do you think and feel about yourself? Are you 10 out of 10? Are you 100 out of 100? Are you eating well? Are you training? Are you looking after yourself? Another video for another time. But that's how you want to go into interaction. I'm going in to give, not to get. I'm going to add value. You know what I mean? You're going to make their day. That changes everything because you become detached from outcome. Next thing is that obviously for beginners, we're going to go in and we're going to just get used to, we're going to pay a compliment here. We're going to ask for directions. We're going to ask for time with strangers. Get used to that first. Then we're going to work on our body body language when we stop. How are we stopping them? Front on preferably, I prefer the front on. Hey, excuse me. Do you know what I mean? Get their attention. Once you got their attention, go into the opener. Now, are we going direct, indirect, or semi-direct? You know my opinions on those. I prefer semi-direct. Some people might like indirect. Some people might like direct. My opinion is semi-direct, and I've told you the reasons for that. And also I've given you a breakdown of each, indirect, direct, and semi-direct, and what they are and how they look. In the interaction, you're going to practice teasing, bantering, cold reads. Try not to get into interview mode, okay? We don't want to do that. The conversation length is generally about 3 to 5 minutes, right? Because it's generally during the daytime, and also is that, they might be on a lunch break and you have time constraints. Remember, if it's a time constraint, that's okay. We still want to be ABC, always be closing, okay? And then also the amount of volume that we want to run, we want to aim for 20 to 30 new approaches, new girls per week. Let me tell you guys, even if you're starting out and you're talking to 20 or 30 new women per week, you will have an abundant dating life. This isn't out with date. This is without dating apps and everything like that. This is the bread and the butter. This is what you need in 2026. Like I said in my other video, 100%. Okay, so we've gone over everything. If you feel like I've left anything out, or you want me to dive into any of those topics or subjects a bit deeper, comment in the bottom, like, comment, subscribe, right? And I'm more than happy to do a video on any of these particular topics. I've just given a brief overview and overrun of daytime cold approach and why I prefer it. And I've told you my method and my strategy and my tactics. And then obviously after that, after you've got the contact details, well, then we know what comes next. It's all obviously organizing dates, texting, so on and so forth. So those will be the next videos coming up after that. We're going to go through piece by piece. And I can chunk down and I can elaborate and open every single one of these, which we will do in time. But for now, I just want to leave you guys with this, and I want you to be able to get going. So that's going to be enough for today. And yeah, the video's gone on long enough. I could talk about it all day, as you guys know. But anyway, I know the time and attention thing is a big thing here. And yeah, we want to make this happen. We want to make it work. All right, guys, all the best. And yeah, as I said, anything you want to subtract or add to that, comment down below and let me know. I'm more than happy to make a video about it. All right, guys, all the best. Get out there and get going, and I can't wait to hear how it's going for you. All right, guys, all the best. Take care.